Okay, in this video, we are going to break down exactly what just happened in December real estate market here in Brantford, but also take a look back at the entire 2023 real estate market and how it stacked up to the previous 5 years. We're going to have a lot of information here in this video, so stick with me. Hey, and welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. I hope you had an incredible holiday season. My name is Jeff Thibodeau. I'm a real estate broker and market analyst right here in the city of Brantford, my hometown. I've been at this for 15 years, looking deep into the market insights to bring you the information you need, whether you're thinking about buying a home, selling a home, maybe investing in real estate, or you're just curious about the value of your property here in Brantford. If you need any help planning your next real estate transaction, that's what I'm here for. People have been reaching out to me through this YouTube channel, and I'm always grateful to have someone I don't know reach out to me and ask for help. So all my contact information is right below, and I hope you find this information valuable. So let's take a look at the most interesting statistic, which is the median sale price. So if you have been watching these videos, you'll know my last video, we talked about that in November, the median sale price actually took a big nosedive. It was down over $70,000 just in a single month after there'd been some pretty healthy gains. Let me throw the chart on the screen here, and you can see throughout the end of 2022 and into 2023, that red line was slowly pushing its way back up. And there, right at the end of the year, you see it take a little bit of a nosedive. And it was a weird month. In November of last year, basically very few homes over $700,000 sold. It was like the buyers just took a complete break. And this was something we were watching pretty closely, but it looks like the buyers came back in December. So there were quite a few homes over $700,000 sell in December, and that's pushed the price back up to $610,000. That's up $30,000 from where it was in November. So still down a little bit, but you can see that in these months where there's fewer sales, the data can be a little more erratic. So that number of 610 is the median price for homes sold in December. That is up 5.2% from November, and it's also up 6.6% from last year. Now, interestingly, if we look at the entire year as one, this takes a lot of the variability out of the data because when we talk about statistics and measuring things like averages and means, the bigger the data set, the less it's going to be bouncing around. So when we look at a whole year instead of just a single month, you can see a little bit of a different story. The median sale price for the whole year for 2023 was $635,000 here in Brantford. And if we look back, the high point was actually in the 2022 year at $688,000. And then back one more year, which was on record as kind of the really hot, crazy year, $622,000. So if we look back, we're actually down 8% in 2023 from that high point of 2022, but we're actually up 2%, or let's call it even. We're basically, 2023 came in at about the same numbers as 2021. Now, the real story is if you look back on this chart, though, where prices used to be, how quickly we can kind of forget. But if you had bought your home in 2022, you're already up 35%, even with the fluctuations of the last couple of years. Go back to 2019, it's 59%. And if you go all the way back to 2018, they're at $375,000. You're actually up 69% already in just a 5-year period. So even though in the short term, it looks like things are fluctuating up and down, we zoom out a little bit and see that real estate has been quite a successful investment over the past 5 years. The next chart I want to show you is actually the home demand. So this chart measures the number of homes that sold each month. And as we look into just last month, December 2023, that number came in at 61, and that's actually the lowest number on this entire chart. Now that's typical. December usually is the lowest sales month in the year, but to have it be the lowest sales month in the past 5 years is something, to take a look at. Now, it wasn't because there wasn't homes available. Actually, the December inventory was the highest it's been in the last 3 years. I think it's just that, people are sitting on the fence waiting for those interest rates to come down, waiting to see what 2024 has in store for them, making sure their job's secure. So it was an abnormally slow December. However, the homes that did sell, were coming in at a higher average sale price than just the month before. So that's a 24.7% drop which again is normal from November, but it's also 12.6% less than last year, which was again a slow December. So we're looking now into the January market and the early parts of 2024 and trying to watch and see, when does the real estate market really wake up? When we look year over year, it kind of tells the same story. In 2023, there were 1,423 total homes sold in Brantford, and that comes in as the lowest number on this chart looking back over 6 years. That's down 5.9% from last year and down 31% from that crazy boom year of 2021. Now, what I know is that Brantford is growing, and what we've seen is this is like a kind of a stall. What I would expect is that we have some pent-up demand happening. People still want to buy homes, they still want to move, but the interest rate environment is preventing that. So it's going to be an interesting year to watch and see whether transactions ramp up as people either decide to come off the sidelines and accept interest rates for what they are, or we do see some reductions in the interest rates this year, and that brings people back onto the playing field and getting those transactions done. My prediction would be that 2023 number is our low point, and we do have more transactions happening this year in 2024. The next chart we want to look at is the amount of supply. So this is the number of homes being listed for sale. So this chart combined with the previous one really gives our balance of supply and demand. It tells us how the market is feeling. And again, in December, we had a low point of 68. Again, the lowest number on this chart does match the 2021 low point. Much different market, December 2021 than 2023, but only 68 people put their homes up for sale. And a majority of those 68 homes were actually homes that had already been on the market before. They were just canceled and relisted, so they weren't truly new listings. That's a huge drop from November, where we did see a little push. People were trying to get that last chance to get their homes sold in 2023. And it was less homes than were put on the market last year. And so this effect of the inventory being held back because both the supply and the demand are coming in lower. If the market was, truly crashing, what we would see is that the number of homes for sale is ramping up completely, while demand isn't ramping up or keeping pace with it. Instead, we're seeing both of those numbers are being held back. So just as many home sellers are hesitant to put their home on the market as there are buyers not, active in the market. When we look at the total numbers, a little different story here. We did have 2,553 homes up for sale, and this number is a little overrepresented because people are listing their homes multiple times if they're not getting it sold. So you can count as a new listing more than once on the market, but you can only count as a sold property once. So this number can be a little overinflated, but we do see that it was actually 6% lower than the previous year. So if the market was running away and we were going to be expecting a big, crash or depression in real estate prices, we'd actually see that more and more people are putting their homes up for sale. And we've actually seen that number hit a peak in 2022 when interest rates were rising rapidly. And actually in 2023, that number came in at 6% less. So it'll be interesting to see how this number plays out throughout, this 2024 selling season. I've actually combined these two data points into one chart here where we've overlaid the listings with the sales, and you can kind of see the pace of the market here. I've made the red bars a little transparent. So where you see those little tips where they're dark red, that's actually showing you that the red bar is taller than the blue bar that's hiding below it. And when that happens, you have a really fast-paced market. When there's actually more homes selling than there are people putting their homes up for sale, it actually brings the inventory number down and makes everybody move really fast. And that is what we were seeing through 2021. But if you can compare the chunk here of 2020 versus the chunk of bars in 2023, you notice you see a lot more blue. And that tells me actually that 2022 was that year where people were kind of anxious and trying to get their homes sold, and the buyers were taking a step back. Whereas in 2023, there actually weren't as many people trying to get their homes sold. So the market was a little more in favor of the sellers. It wasn't running away into a buyer's market, which a lot of the news headlines would have you believe. Let's take a look at the inventory numbers. Now, this is an interesting one. So if you've been following along the market during the pandemic years, The reason it got so overinflated is because the inventory was just so low. You can see that over on the left side of this chart, where actually the low point in the winter of 2021, there was only 26 homes up for sale. And if you remember back on our previous chart, there was way more than 26 homes sell. So that means the inventory was turning over faster than a 1 month period. And through 2022, the inventory rose significantly along with the interest rates as buyers kind of hit the pause button, and a lot of sellers were like, oh crap, I better get my home sold. And we peaked out at 299 homes on the market in 2022. Again, falling into the winter and then peaking actually around the fall of 2023 at 345. Well, as we head into the winter this year, it came in at 216. It was actually just a little lower even at the beginning of January at 195. And it'll start rising again as the home sellers come back to the market. But really, this would be the number one piece of information to keep your eye on. If we see the inventory racing away, that would mean that there's just more and more choice for the buyers. And obviously, the buyers are going to buy the best deals, and that would be bringing prices down. But the inventory looks like it's hanging on at about this level, which is a stable, balanced market for our local marketplace. So I would expect the same pattern to continue this year. We would ramp up into about the mid 300s in total inventory, but not much higher based on what I'm seeing. You know, one way we can look at this is actually we can combine the inventory number with the demand number and mathematically divide those two. And that's what we get here on the month's supply of housing. So this represents, you know, the total number of homes for sale divided by the amount of homes sold. And that gives us how many months of inventory do we have? And so traditionally, you know, when we look at this chart, if we're looking down at a very low number, that indicates a seller's market, very high paced, very little choice for buyers. Sellers are getting premium offers, prices are going up. And if the number rises up to the top of this chart, we consider that a buyer's market where there's actually lots of choice available. The buyers can pick and choose, negotiate offers down. Sellers are competing with each other and dropping their prices. And so what we've seen is since, you know, that fast-paced market on the left side of this chart where we were under 1 month's supply, all of 2022 ramped us up. And 2023, it kept building. But we've actually fallen back down to a level of, I believe it comes in at 1.9 on this chart in December. And it's very interesting to kind of feel that number out in the marketplace. It actually, you know, does feel quite fast paced for those homes that are selling. And that's something we'll get into in a couple slides from now, but there's a real separation of the homes and the active inventory that is, you know, getting offers, getting showings. And there's a large chunk of homes that's just been sitting around. They're overpriced. Nobody really wants them. And they're just staying on the market and not really getting any action. Another interesting thing here is to break this number down by price segment, because Brantford is a pretty price sensitive environment. You know, it's a working class town, becoming a commuter town. But if I break this number apart into the blue line representing homes under $600,000, the pink line representing homes 600 to 800, the kind of like light gray line is 800 to $1 million, and then the dark gray line being $1 million plus, you can see that those lower price points are actually still very hot, very active, very seller focused. And that 800 to $1 million, it was racing away and calming down. It has, you know, it looks like it's rejoining the other markets there as we headed into the winter. And it's really that $1 million plus price point that was, you know, very hot and active, even through the early part of 2022. It kind of just raced away and became a very buyers focused market. So right now, as we're seeing above $1 million, there's lots of homes available. These tend to be larger square footage homes, you know, in the West Brant area and a few other areas of town where there's just a lot of choice available and nobody's really buying them. So the inventory keeps piling up. So in that particular segment, there's lots of deals to be found, but it's also very difficult to get your home sold. Whereas if we look down at the more affordable priced homes, in that kind of middle of the market and the entry level price points, it is quite competitive. Buyers are still, you know, occasionally paying over asking. Sellers are getting the job done in under 30 days. So quite different markets happening depending on the price point. Okay, a couple more slides for you here today. Just a quick pause to say, if you're getting any value out of this video, I would really appreciate if you took a second to hit that like button. It does help me out in the algorithms and keeps this video popping up in other people's news feeds. It's a way you can say thanks. Also, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it in the comment, or you can reach out to me if there's something specific you want me to address in a future video. And of course, if you like videos like this, hit the subscribe button so that my future videos, which I'm making every single week, they pop up right in your home feed and you never miss one. Okay, let's look at the last few slides I have for you today. What I like to do is break down the exact sales that happened. So every one of these red dots is a home that sold in December. And what we have along the bottom is the price, and then up the side is the percentage of the asking price that the final offer was. So that bold white line in the middle is a full price line. And what you can see is there is quite a variability where we have a large chunk of homes that are selling, between full price and 5% under asking. There's a few dots that are kind of between 92 and 96, so they're getting a little bit bigger discount. But you're not really seeing anything severely discounted. I don't see any red dots below that 92% line. But what I do see is above, there were still significant number of homes where the seller and the real estate agent, would have intentionally underpriced them by a little bit to drive up that bidding war. And that's all the red dots you see above this white line are homes that sold anywhere from 4% all the way up to like almost 20%. I think that highest red dot is 118% of asking price. So this still tells us that, for those middle priced homes, there is still quite a bit of buyer demand where there is buyers competing for a home and willing to bid it up over asking price. So again, this is an indication of when you're out there shopping for a home, you've got to look at each house that you're shopping at as an individual situation and really analyze it with your real estate agent and not just try to paint the whole market with one brush. And also as a seller, different strategies are available to you. You can intentionally underprice your home and try to drive up a bidding war. You also can price it properly and just get a solid offer. And then of course, there are some people that are overpricing their home. We don't see that as a winning strategy because most of the time the buyers aren't really looking to, make a huge lowball offer. Typically what happens with an overpriced home is eventually they bring their price down into the correct place and then it gains attraction and eventually an offer. There's another way I can look at this data, which is to replace the percent of asking price with the time on market. So we still have price across the bottom here, but time on market moving up. And again, what you can see is in December, there was kind of a smattering of people, buying up the fresh new listings on the market. But for a lot of it, it was cleaning up homes that have been on the market for quite a while. You can see the top of this chart goes all the way to 200 days on market. So 180 days is like 6 months on market. You can see homes being picked off that have been 6 months on market, 100 days on market, 90 days on market. And that is kind of unique to December. Throughout the rest of the year, we tend to see the majority of the activity is happening at the bottom of this chart. And so December was a month where, people were out deal shopping and picking up those properties potentially at a good price where the seller just wanted to get it done in 2023. Two last charts for you here before we wrap things up today. This blue dotted chart is that same data, but now it's showing what's actually available on the market and a much different story. And to see this clearly, I'm actually going to lay the red dots back over it. And so what we see here is the blue dots all represent a home that is currently for sale as we're making this video. And the red dots are the ones that sold. And you can see I've had to adjust the vertical axes all the way up to 400 days on market here. And you can see up at like that 320 line, there's a whole bunch of properties that are coming up on a year on the market and just nobody's really interested in buying them, but they're just sitting around, holding up those active listing numbers. All the action's happening down below. And the other thing you can see is these dots over to the right, kind of above 1 million where they've been piling up and there's not a lot of action happening over there either. And so when you kind of squint your eyes and look at this chart, you can see where the big blobs of blue are. Those are the inactive pockets of the market. And really what we do is take all of this data and try to turn it into a plan for you, depending on the exact type of home you're trying to buy or trying to sell. So that's everything I've got for you today, but stay tuned because next week, I'm putting together my 2024 real estate market predictions based on everything I've seen over the last 15 years and everything I'm reading about what's coming down the pipeline for this year, I'm going to put together some very pragmatic predictions. We're going to get them here in video for you, but also as a record so we can come back and look, hey, how did I do? You know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can look at the data and the trends and we can see what is exactly happening. How has it happened before? And what do we expect to happen this year? So stay tuned for that. As always, if you need help getting started with your next real estate transaction, please use my contact information below. I love hearing from you and I'm happy to get you started with some professional advice. Happy New Year, and we'll see you on the next video.